Hey guys, this is Mel, and I'm back to talk about Legends of Tomorrow. Two episodes. What I'm calling episode 509, titled The Great British Bake Off, which premiered April 28th, 2020. Also, episode 510, called Shipbroken, which premiered on May 5th, 2020, on the CW as well. I'm recording on May 9th, so it's been a few days since 510 has aired. So, huge spoiler alert. If you haven't seen the episode already, please, both of them even, please go do so first and then come back and see what I have to say about the episode. Other reminders are up on screen. Take a moment to remind yourselves of those. Reason why for the number discrepancy is all because of the Crisis crossover that aired before the premiere, yet it's not counted as the premiere episode. So I even had to go double check myself to make sure which number it was I was talking about. So there's that. So I will try to do this between 20 and 30 minutes. I'm not going to actually time it. But we'll see how it goes. So let's just jump right into it and go with timeline. So I'll cover both episodes in regards to each category so that it goes right a little bit smoother. So for the timeline for 509, I didn't really know until I looked it up, but apparently when Constantine went back in time due to him trying to get a hold of the Loom of Fate ring, it ended up taking him to 1918, England. Which is still his own house. It just, he went back in time. I didn't realize it was 1918. I don't know in the episode if it specifically stated it, but the synopsis on Wikipedia said it was 1918 England. So there's that. Now for 510 though, we get a little bit of Central City. I'm assuming it's Central City because Mick's daughter Lita was taken out of the original timeline, and then the rest of the episode was taking place in the temporal zone. I think it's called the temporal zone. It's that place where it's like all green, wavy things around it, but there's that. Now, in regards to the villain or the encores featured in the episodes, 509 had a lot of specific names. As opposed to encores, it had the Bonnie and Clyde, they had Jack the Ripper, they had Brutus, Pirate Caesar, they also have King Henry VIII, and then for villain, they had we officially got Lachesis and then Atropos, so we got the other two Fate sisters. So there's that. With 510, we really only get a Hellhound from Hell, and it was supposedly Son of Sam's dog, I believe. I forget the name. They revealed his actual name through Astra, but I'll put it up on screen if I'm able to find it on the internet. So there's that. Storyline wise, though, I will say it's a little. Well, I have the ones I specifically pick out on, but because if you've been following any of my videos or my channel at all, you'll know that I'm currently in a screenwriting program, and one of my current courses right now is actually talking about TV writing for drama series, and we're starting to go through the breakdown of the storylines. So we were told that every episode usually contains 3 different storylines: an A, B, and C storyline. So I was trying to find, sometimes when I'm watching an episode, I can easily pick out what A, B, and C are, but then sometimes they're just storylines that don't follow the typical ABC format of what is considered to be the A, what's considered to be the B, and what's considered the C. As for my storylines, it's always whatever ones stick out or whichever ones always deviate from each other. So sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But for both these episodes, I really only found 2 different storylines that were going on throughout the episode. So 509, I had the whole last Loom of Fate, and that is with Zari and Constantine traveling back in time in his house to look for the last ring, which they came across all these other encores trying to do the same thing. And then with that second storyline is, again, the whole encore ambush that we see in storyline 1, but in this storyline, this is where they go, parts of the Legend team go to Hell to go to Astra to get her to stop sending the encores, only for them to find out that she wasn't the one that sent all the encores after Constantine, but it was Lachesis trying to send them all to find the Loom of Fate ring. So in this case, both of these 2 storylines do collide and are connected strongly with each other. Usually that's not the case, but I separated them because they do involve 2 separate sets of characters, if you will. So there's that. For 510, though, the storylines, major one was the fact that there is a saboteur on board. A lot of actions happening that people weren't remembering them doing it. And then the fact that they do find out that it was the Gary's new dog that was actually manipulating them to do all these different actions that were causing problems on the ship and making him think that there was an actual saboteur. Like one of those murder mysteries when you don't know who within the group is the killer and you're all suspicious and everything. It was kind of like that scenario there. So there was that. And then while all this was happening, the second storyline was the father-daughter bonding between Mick and Lita, because he brought her on board the ship as kind of a way to like get like cool dad points with her. So there's that. So moving on to the last scenes of the episode, for 509, we do see Constantine learning that Astra is now on board the Wave Rider and part of the team until they are able to use the Lumafate to get her mother back, which Ava kind of gave the offer to Astra to come aboard. So there's that. In 510, the last scene was the fact that Gideon reports after scanning Sarah's health again that there was no abnormalities behind Sarah's recent loss of vision. And previously, throughout the whole episode, because Gideon's system was down due to the saboteur, they didn't know what was wrong with Sarah's vision. So after everything was up and running again, they found out that Sarah is actually completely back to health, nothing's wrong, and yet she still has her vision. She doesn't have her vision anymore. So that's kind of the news that they left it off there. Now, moving on to major tidbits. For the episodes, for 509, I picked up on the fact that with the episode, Sarah's actually comatose for a majority of it due to her adjusting to the side effects from her encounter with Atropos. We do see a little bit of precognitive signs going on before she passes out and falls into a coma, where she suddenly sees like future events happening before her, before the actual stream of action happening. It was very cool how it was done. It's more of like a delayed. It's kind of like, I don't know how to explain it. It was like a delayed movement type thing when like you get a blurry camera in a sense, but except instead of it being like delayed because you're slower, it's kind of like the opposite direction. I don't know how to explain it, but there's that. Also, we get Zari tapping into the air totem again, on her own this time. First off, we also see both her and Charlie having new hairstyles as well. Zari has hers being cut while Charlie has more color into her hair. So there's that. We also see that Mick is determined to learn more about his daughter. He even states that he refuses to die in hell and miss out on one of her soccer games, which he does mention in 510 again. Yeah, I think with that one, when he mentioned in 510, he said, like, I'm sorry I missed your game last weekend. So I think it was a last week or, like, recently. So that was a help of a timeline thing in regards to, like, their time in 2020. Another tidbit is the fact that there is tension growing between Zari and Constantine. They almost kissed in the episode before they were able to find the ring. And I'll bring it up later. And then also we do get a flashback to ancient Egypt when Charlie first gave the last piece of the Lumafate to what she calls the Enchantress, who seems to be a shapeshifter as well. And she was the one that was tasked with hiding the ring in a way that if anyone's looking for it, no one will find it. But if no one is looking for it, then you're able to find it. It's kind of similar to the Sorcerer's Stone in the first Harry Potter book, where like that anyone who wanted to use the stone could not take it from the mirror, but anyone who just wanted it and not use it would be able to take it from the mirror type of thing. So it was in that kind of sense. So there's that. Now with 510, the tidbits that were shared was one that Charlie tried and failed to use the Loom of Fate to bring Behrad back. It is believed that she needs both of her sisters in order to do so. It's also speculated from the fact that Behrad his strength is very intertwined in time because of the time traveling, that it might have been a little bit harder, and maybe that's why Charlie needs both her sisters in order to bring him back. Don't know if the same thing would occur if she were to take someone that just strictly lived out their life with no time manipulations whatsoever, but there's that. We do also see Astra calling Zari out on her thing with Nathan and Constantine. We do see Gary adopting another support animal at the end of the episode, a rabbit from a suspicious carny, who he was warned not to feed after midnight. I really wonder if that's going to bite us in the butt later on. Even the bunny looked a little bit weird. Like, it didn't look like a normal bunny. So there's that. And also we see Mick having all of his savings in his room on the Wave Rider since he doesn't trust any banks. He believes that if he's able to rob a bank, then anyone else can rob a bank. So he'd rather keep his money up close to him. He estimated that's about $1 billion in gold coins and merchandise that's on board. And Lita is just floored by that. So there's that. So let's move on to major reminders or in regard to like the overall story arc. So if there's anything you're going to take away from these 2 episodes, this is the section you'd want to clue in on. So at 509, this is the episode where the legends, by the end of it, have acquired all 3 pieces to the Loom of Fate, all taking on the form of rings. I guess each of them dedicated to the 3 sisters. So there's that. And with 510, though, we we see Sarah's premonitions truly coming into place. Even though she's lost her regular sight, she now has the vision of foresight, where it seemed that whoever she touched, like skin on skin touching, or whoever touched her with skin on skin contact, it would enact a vision of the future from them. So it seems like whenever she's touching them through clothing, it doesn't work, but that seems to be the case. It looks like that might be Sarah's new state of sight now, because by the end of it, Gideon said there was nothing wrong with Sarah medically, except that she still didn't have her sight. And it wasn't just a side effect, but a permanent one. So there's that. There's also the reminder of the fact that Charlie can't use the Loom of Fate alone. Don't know if that's truly it, or if they're missing a piece, or if it really is that she needs to use her sisters in order to do so. So there's that. But let's move on to the most shocking moment of the episode. I really have to think back on this because I didn't write it initially when I wrote the recaps for these. But 509, it seems that my shocker was the fact that Astra actually went to the Rave Rider when Ava offered it. Yeah, I wasn't expecting it. Maybe this is the route that they're trying to get a redemption of sorts from her. But there's that. The 510 shocker was the fact that Gary's dog was a hellhound, and he was the one that was actually behind the whole stabbing premonitions that Sarah kept on getting. So that was clever, but I just didn't expect it for sure. I mean, you got this really, really tiny dog, and then you get the CGI of it being the hellhound, and it's just like, yeah, that's pretty cool, but it was still a shock. That didn't think I'd get a talking animal on this show, but yeah, so there's that. But let's move on to top favorite moments. With 509, I really liked the fact that we got to see Mick back in hell again. It was pretty funny just to see him fit so well in that atmosphere. It kind of reminded me of when in season 1 of Legends they went to the future Star City, and it was just huge disarray and chaotic, and Mick was like the king of that chaos. So it was just fun to see him fitting in with the riffraff of hell. So that was pretty fun there. And then the other favorite I had for the episode was just Zari and Constantine. The fact that they had the whole episode together and they had to learn to work together, and you just felt this tension growing between the two of them. So that was a favorite there. Now for 510, I think a favorite had to be when Sarah wakes up from a coma and she suddenly doesn't have her sight. She had to put a blindfold on, right? So then after that, she's walking throughout the whole ship and all these things are happening. And it was just like her reactions to finding out what has changed. The fact that Mick's daughter is on the ship. The fact that there is a dog on the ship. The fact that they're stuck in like all these things that have gone wrong. And then just her reaction, because it's very different when you lose a sense. All your other senses are heightened, as they say. So it's just funny to see her reactions being heightened a little bit more from it. So that was pretty cool there. And also the way that Sarah handles that situation too, not just the news, but her situation of suddenly not having her sight anymore. I thought that was pretty cool how she handled it, and try to get a better understanding of it in a sense. And it didn't fully take away from who she is, if that makes sense. So there's that. Another favorite I did have was Gary's advice to Mick about being a parent. Of course, Gary's talking in the sense that like he's a new dog owner and he's viewing him as a parent to a dog, while Mick is dealing with his daughter. But it was very cool how Gary's advice from being an animal parent was very spot on for like a human parent. But it was just very interesting to see how Mick reacted to it and like was taking it in as like not just like brushing it off, but like Gary said some very sound advice. So I thought that was pretty cool. So there's that. Now, moving on to top peeved moments. For 509, a peeve I had was the fact that Zari and Constantine, their kiss was interrupted by the fact that they spotted the Luma Fate ring when their minds weren't on finding the Luma Fate ring. It was on each other. I mean, I know they kissed before, but they kissed under the pretense that they were playing Romeo and Juliet. So, I don't know. I mean, like, I like Nathan and OG Zari together, but then I like this Zari with Constantine. But I don't know how I could get both ships when essentially they share the same person in common. So, I don't know. It's just like, out of that, I know when I think back on that episode, that's the one I was like, that's the moment I was frustrated with, the fact that that moment got interrupted. So there's that. And for 510, a peeve was the fact that Behrad couldn't be resurrected. I mean, I kind of expected that something would happen and it just wouldn't be in their favors. But the fact that he's still dead bugs me because I really liked Behrad. But like on a story level basis, I knew why his resurrection couldn't happen in the episode because that would have just been too easy. We still got like 4 episodes left. They needed more in order. I expect him to be resurrected in like the second last or in the finale episode. But it's just still sucked that nothing could have came from that attempt, you know? So there's that. But let's move on to random questions very quickly. The only question I came up with for 509 was the fact that wouldn't Lachesis, who we found officially out that it was the coin maker, which I suspected, but question, wouldn't Lachesis find it suspicious that Astra left Hell with the Legends just shortly after Lachesis had told her that she wanted to make Astra into their third Fate sister, kind of like they wanted to replace Charlie with Astra in their Fate triad. So I'm wondering if they caught on to that or not. But there's that. 510 questions. I had 2 for that. First one being, how does Astra know about Zari's relationship with Nathan or with Constantine? Did she gather that on her very short time on the Wave Rider? Or was she always watching the Legends team while checking in on Constantine in his search for the Luma Fate? And that's how she kind of picked up on the whatever's going between him and Zari. Because I find her commenting, the extent that she was commenting on the relationship, I found that very odd. Like, it makes sense for us as the viewer because we're seeing these relationships unfold before us. But if I was in Astra's position, I would have felt like I wouldn't have been exposed to that dynamic long enough to have given the commentary that was given. So that's the question there. And the last question was, is the loss of Sarah's sight permanent? Or is it that while she has powers, she won't have her regular sight, or vice versa, where she won't have her visions, but she'll have her regular sight? Kind of like with like the X-Men series, the reboot, where they showed the younger version of Professor X, where like if he wanted to use his telepathy, he couldn't walk, but if he wanted to walk again, he wouldn't have the telepathy thing with the James McAvoy version. So I'm wondering if that's supposed to be like that kind of scenario for Sarah. But otherwise, guys, that is pretty much it. What do you guys think of these 2 episodes? What do you guys like about it? What do you think will happen next? Let me know in the comments down below. Love to hear your own thoughts, theories, and opinions about all that good stuff. Also, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, check out my other videos if you haven't done so already. If you want, check out my Tumblr page. Link for that is down below. Anything I reblog. Promos, web clips, quotes, gifs, synopsis, news, all that good stuff, all in one place. Go check that out. It is a work in progress. I need to update that, but with school ramping up again, even though we're during this pandemic, my schoolwork got transferred to online learning. So I'm still trying to keep up with all that. But yeah, check it out. It's as organized as it is. WordPress, same thing. Link for that's down below. Anything I post online is connected to WordPress. A little more organized, a little more detailed, but still work in progress once again. I did try to update it a little bit more at the beginning of this pandemic before my school resumed, but just be aware of that. But otherwise, guys, that is pretty much it. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for your patience. I just hit the 20-minute mark, so I just made my internal goal there. But I hope you come back next time to see what I have to say about the next episodes. My plan is to do my next Legends video to be the next 2 episodes, because I had it planned that it would be those 2, and then the video after that would be for the finale, I believe. We have a few more to go for sure. But yeah, otherwise, tune back in or ring that notification bell if you want to keep track that way. Otherwise, check out my other videos in the meantime if you want to catch up on other things as well. But until then, guys, this is Mel. Wish you all a great day, great week wherever you are. Bye for now.